Hi basketball fans, welcome back to the channel. If you thought this rivalry still belonged in the same conversation, think again. The South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball just turned a nationally watched showdown into a 93-50 masterclass against the Tennessee Lady Volunteers basketball, and what we witnessed wasn't just a win, it was domination on every level. From suffocating zone defense to surgical offensive execution, this wasn't a game, it was a statement. The Gamecocks didn't just beat Tennessee. They overwhelmed them. Outworked them. Outclassed. And trust me, what this performance says about the rest of the season? That's where things get scary. But before we break down the defensive traps, the scoring explosions, and the moment the arena knew it was over, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any Gamecock coverage, and drop a comment right now. Is this the most complete performance of the season? Or is South Carolina still holding something back? Let's dive into how the Gamecocks turned a rivalry game into a 43-point warning shot to the entire SEC. When the final horn sounded inside Colonial Life Arena, it wasn't just another SEC win for South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball, it was a statement. A loud one. A 93-50 dismantling of Tennessee Lady Volunteers basketball that felt less like a rivalry game and more like a masterclass. From the opening tip, you could sense something different. This wasn't just about extending a streak. It wasn't just about rankings. It was about and no one orchestrates control quite like Dawn Staley. The Gamecocks came out with an edge that was unmistakable. Tennessee tried to set the tone early, quick ball movement, aggressive drives, a couple of confident jumpers, but South Carolina didn't flinch. They absorbed the initial punch and then began tightening the screws. The first quarter was competitive for a few possessions. Tennessee hit a shot. South Carolina answered. Tennessee forced a turnover. South Carolina responded with a fast break layup. But midway through the period, the Gamecocks flipped a switch. It started defensively. A zone look. Then another. A quick trap at half court. A deflection. A steal. A transition bucket. Suddenly, Tennessee's rhythm evaporated. The Lady Vols were no longer dictating tempo, they were reacting. And that's when South Carolina is at its most dangerous. Tanya Latson set the tone offensively. She attacked gaps before they fully formed. Her first step was electric. Pull-up jumper. Floater in the lane. Drive and finish through contact. By the end of the first half, she already had the defense guessing on every possession. Then came Joyce Edwards, patient, poised, surgical. When Tennessee tried to collapse on Latson, Edwards drifted into space and made them pay. Catch. Rise. Splash. Over and over again. By the time the second quarter hit its midpoint, the lead ballooned into double digits. But what made this game remarkable wasn't just the scoring, it was the efficiency. South Carolina wasn't forcing shots. They were carving up the defense like a veteran team playing chess against checkers. Backdoor cuts. High-low feeds. Extra pass to the corner. Shot fake. Sidestep. Bucket. Tennessee scrambled, switched defenses, tried man-to-man, tried zone of their own, nothing. Defensively, South Carolina suffocated everything. The 2-3 zone swallowed driving lanes. Guards closed out with discipline. Post players erased second-chance opportunities. Tennessee's shooters hesitated just long enough for contests to matter. Talasha Cooper tried to create off the dribble, but help defenders were already there. Janiah Barker fought for position inside, but South Carolina's length made every touch difficult. At halftime, the scoreboard told the story. A comfortable lead that already felt insurmountable. But the third quarter? That's when it became historic. The Gamecocks came out of the locker room like a team offended that the margin wasn't larger. 3 straight stops. 3 straight scores. And just like that, the building erupted. Latson drilled a pull-up 3 in transition. Edwards followed with a baseline jumper. Raven Johnson sliced through traffic for a finish that brought the bench to its feet. The lead crossed 30. Tennessee's body language shifted. Shoulders sagged. Huddles grew quieter. The urgency was there, but the answers weren't. Meanwhile, South Carolina's bench was alive. Every rotation player brought energy. Tessa Johnson knocked down a deep jumper. Madina Okote protected the rim with authority. The communication never stopped, hands high, feet active, voices constant. This wasn't just dominance. It was unity. By the fourth quarter, the only real question was how large the final margin would be. 93 points. 50 allowed. A 43-point gap in a rivalry that once defined women's college basketball. And perhaps most impressively, it never felt reckless. It never felt like showboating. It was clinical. Controlled. Ruthless in execution, not emotion. After the game, Dawn Staley didn't celebrate wildly. She spoke about discipline. About habits. About growth. She emphasized that this team still has layers to uncover. That's what makes this performance even more striking. It wasn't their ceiling. It was just another step. For Tennessee, the loss stings. Rivalries carry weight, history, pride. But for South Carolina, this game reinforced something bigger. They aren't just winning. They're evolving. The zone defense looked sharper than it has all season. The ball movement was crisp. The shot selection was elite. And perhaps most importantly, multiple players can carry the scoring load on any given night. That's a night for opponents. Because if you focus on Latson, Edwards burns you. If you pack the paint, the perimeter punishes you. If you press, they break it calmly and convert. Complete teams are rare. Complete teams that are still improving? That's terrifying. The crowd sensed it. Each defensive stop drew louder cheers. Each fast break bucket felt like punctuation. By the final minutes, the arena wasn't anxious, it was celebratory. This wasn't just another SEC win. It was a reminder. South Carolina is in the zone, literally and figuratively. And if this version of the Gamecocks continues to sharpen its identity, the rest of the conference, and perhaps the nation, will have a serious problem on its hands. 93-50. A rivalry reshaped. A statement delivered. A team peaking at the right time. And if this performance is any indication, the story of this season is far from finished. And just like that, the message has been sent. 93-50. A rivalry game turned into a reminder. A statement that echoes far beyond one night. The South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball didn't just win, they showed what championship focus looks like. Defensive discipline. Offensive precision. Depth. Confidence. Identity. If this is what they look like when they're in the zone, the rest of the country better take notice. But now I want to hear from you. Is this the most dominant South Carolina performance of the season? Can anyone in the SEC slow them down? And what does this mean for the road ahead? Drop your thoughts in the comments, make sure you like this video if you enjoyed the breakdown, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of Gamecock basketball and the biggest stories in women's college hoops. We're just getting started, and if tonight proved anything, it's that this team isn't done making noise. See you in the next one.